So this lesson is a basics on how to use Adobe Premiere. This is the new 2015 CC version that we are using, and this is from levels 1 to 6. It's kind of a refresher for some of you, but for some of you it will be a completely new experience. We're going to start off with just the basics of how to start. So before you even open the program, you need to make sure that you have file management and you organise yourself. Now within this folder here, I have organised myself into a footage folder, graphics, sound effects, pictures, music. There are other bits which we'll come to later. These are all to do with a Premiere file, and then this is a final output video. Now it's really important before you start is to make sure everything's organised. So within my footage folder I have all my films and extra clips in this one. Within the graphics there are graphics. Within the music there are bits of music. And so everything needs to relate to it, so it makes sure that you're organised and everything's in one place. Make sure this is on your hard drive or your memory stick, whatever you're using from. Do not use the desktop. There is a risk that it could go missing, or the computer could crash and it goes, so you need to make sure that you keep everything safe. So when you open Premiere, you'll see this. For some of you this will be new. Click on New Project, and then within New Project you need to name your project. So for this I'm just calling it Skate Test. And then in Location you need to browse to the right location of where your folder is. So this folder here is on my memory stick, so I'd go to Store and Go and then find it in Tutorials. Nope. Sorry, Taster Session, Taster Day, Skate Video, and then I can choose there. So everything will go into there. Click on your scratch discs. All of these should say same as project. If they do, great. In here these are usually set up so you don't really need to worry about them, and then capture we no longer capture because it's all off of SD cards. Click OK. So when it loads up, it'll load up like this. My advice is, first thing you do when you stop having a wall is go to save and just make sure it's all saved and in the right place. Now at the moment you've got no sequences or nothing. You could do this one of two ways. I would suggest you first go to File, New and Sequence. And then here you have a lot of different options. Now this depends on the camera that you're using. For levels 1 to 3 you will be using AVC HD, 1080p, and then AVC HD 1080p 25, and then click choose. For degree you will either be using this or you'll be using digital SLRs, 1080p, and then the digital SLR section there. Don't worry if you get this wrong, it won't make much of a difference, and you'll see that in a minute. I would name your sequence. So for me it's a test. If you're doing a film it could be scene 1, scene 2. Once you've done that, you then need to import footage into the folder. Now you need to go to your project area, which normally would be on the bottom left. However, you can change the windows to be somewhere else. To import you can do one of two things. You can double click in this grey box area, that will open up a window. You can go to File, Import, and again it will bring up the box. Or if you know where all the footage is, you can just click on the folder and just drag it in. It's up to you which way you want to do this. So I'm going to do it with the music just to show you how it works. So that's now been imported. In the bottom right, this area down here is called conforming. You'll have problems with audio and video until it's finished doing that. So if you have a lot of video files, you'll have a lot of problems with that. If we go back to footage, I'm not going to import all of them, but I will. I'll import the entire folder. So depending on how much footage you've got, and depending on how many gigs worth of footage, it will take longer to import. Once all your footage is imported, if you have imported it in folders, it will be in folders. If you've just imported all the footage, it will look something more like this, which is kind of a bit messy, and there's things everywhere. Now what I suggest you do, in this area you've got different options. This here is called Create a New Bin, or it's a folder to me and you. It'll come up as bin. Let's say you want to name this for a different scene, or if you're doing a certain clip, so it might be green screen footage, or it might be that you've done scene 1 and you want it to be separate. For me, I'm just going to call it Flip Tricks. So what I'm going to do is I'll open up the folder, I'll find a flip trick that I know is a flip trick, there we go, and I'll select the folders I want and drag them into the flip tricks folder. So they've moved out of the footage folder and they're now in the flip tricks folder. It's a good way of just organising your cells and keeping your cells organised. If you have hundreds of clips in this area, it will get very confusing. If you don't like this view and you don't like that the folders are all like that, you can go into a list view which has drop down menus. You can do it that way if you prefer. If you do it this way though and you double click, you open this, but you can scrub through your footage within there just to check what the footage actually is. Some of you will name your footage. I've already named my footage. If you wish to name it within the actual program, click on the clip, click in the name area, and you can just rename what you want and just add in and then hit enter when you're done and just click away. To get footage into the timeline, for those that you don't know, choose a clip that you want to have a look at. If you double click it, it will open in the left hand window. This is the preview window. Within here is where you can have a look through the footage with the sound. So if I play it, so that's the entire clip. Now you will never want to use the entire clip you've got. So this here is called a playhead. You have another one on the main timeline here, and your playhead is where the video is. And if you play it along, you can scrub along, you find where you want your clip to start. So I want it to start just before he ollies into the box. So if you click on mark in, what you'll see is this big grey area here, and it kind of cuts this bit out. So that's the start of the clip. Then you can play it along, find where you want the clip to end, click on mark out. Now all you've done is sort of cut the end and the beginning off. To drag it to the timeline, you just click on the picture, drag it down, and I would always suggest starting on video line 1. Some of you will get this box up depending on what camera you've used to film. If you have filmed your film on the same camera all the way through and this box comes up, click change sequence settings. If it is one clip or it's a picture or something, keep existing settings. So if I click that, it should go yellow there for all of you, and then it's within the timeline, and then it will come up in this box here. Alternatively, what you can do is you can find another clip. So I'm going to take this clip here, and you can just drag it directly to the timeline, and now you're on the timeline. It will play in this top right corner, and you can do a similar kind of thing here. Now I'm just going to quickly skip along. I'm just going to tell you how to expand the timeline. Now at the bottom you have the bar which moves the timeline along. You have a small grey bar here. You click and drag and it will zoom it in. Now obviously you don't want all of this, so you want to find where it starts. So I want to start from there. In here you have a list of tools. The main tool you'll be using here is called the razor tool. If you prefer shortcuts, just hit C on the keyboard. And you move the razor tool to in line with where your playhead is. Click, and it will split the clip into two. Come back over here, click on the selection tool or push V on your keyboard. Click on the first bit and push delete on the keyboard. Now I've got the beginning, now the end is a bit too long and I move. So again, you can repeat the process, or you can take your pointer tool to the end. You should get a little sort of red arrow looking thing. Click and hold and drag to the left, and if you drag to the left you can then line it up with the playhead, let go, and you now have nothing after it. Now obviously there's a gap here. You can click and drag it back, or if you click in the space, hit backspace on the keyboard and you get that. So the clips we've got now are these. So that's very basic editing and how to add things to it. So I'm just going to quickly show you the effects controller. So on the left here you've got a media browser, a library, info. The thing you're more interested in is the effects. You've also got markers and history, you've got all sorts of things there. But in your effects you have loads of different effects. Now I'm not going to go through all of them because there's hundreds of them. If you go to video transitions, dissolve, you'll probably use these more often than not. Within here you've got different dissolves and fades. If you choose one that you want, so I'm just going to click a simple cross dissolve. For any dissolve, they have to go at the beginning or the end of a clip. So if you can see, it's gone brown to indicate that that's where it's going to be placed when I let go. So you just click and drag and let go into an area. So that's covering both clips. Once you've done that and you want to check whether it works, you can drag your playhead closer, click it, and as you can see, they fade together. And that's a very basic way of doing it. You've also got audio transitions in there, and then you have loads of different video effects if you want to affect your video, but we'll come to that when it's more convenient. And that's the very basics of how to use Premiere.